Push it. Got it. Faster.
Have you ever left a doctor's office with your latest blood test results in hand, feeling a little worried? The doctor may have pointed to one number in particular, the LDL cholesterol, and called it your bad cholesterol. It's a moment so many of us have experienced. For decades, we've been told that this single number is the ultimate villain in our heart health story, and that our main goal should be to get it as low as possible. But what if I told you that this is not the full story? What if the number we've all been taught to fear is often misunderstood? And more importantly, what if the real clues to protecting your heart are hiding in plain sight on that very same report, often overlooked by the standard conversation? Today, we're going to gently pull back the curtain on this topic. By the end of our time together, you won't just see a confusing list of numbers. You'll understand the real story your body is trying to tell you, and you'll feel empowered to take control of your heart health like never before. First, let's be clear, cholesterol itself isn't bad. In fact, we absolutely need it to live. It is a crucial building block for every single cell in our body and helps create important hormones. Our bodies are so smart that if we don't get enough from food, our liver simply makes what we need. You've likely heard of the two main players, HDL, often called the good cholesterol, and LDL, the bad one. For years, the focus has been squarely on LDL. If that number is high, the typical advice is to eat a low-fat diet and, very often, to start a medication called a statin. This approach came from decades of research, including a famous, long-running study which found that people with extremely high LDL levels were indeed more likely to have a heart attack. And that makes sense. If your LDL exceptionally high, say over 190, it's often due to a genetic condition, and it absolutely needs attention. Likewise, people with very low LDL, under 70, rarely have heart disease. But here is the crucial question: what about the vast majority of us living in the middle? For most people, especially those of us over 60, that total LDL number is surprisingly not a very good predictor of our actual risk. This is where the story gets truly interesting. The standard blood test that you get measures your total LDL cholesterol as one single number. But science has shown us that not all LDL particles are created equal. It's better to think of them not as a single entity, but as a family of different types of passengers floating through your bloodstream. Imagine two types of passengers. The first type is large, fluffy, and light, like a big, soft beach ball. These are called large buoyant LDL. They make up about 80% of the LDL in your body. They tend to just float along, carrying cholesterol where it needs to go, and generally don't cause much trouble. They are like harmless travelers just passing through. But then there's the second type. These are the small, dense LDL particles. Imagine these as small, hard, heavy marbles. They are tiny, aggressive, and much more dangerous. Because they are so small and dense, they can easily wiggle their way into the delicate lining of your arteries. Once they get in there, they can start a process of inflammation and create a sticky buildup called plaque. This is the plaque that hardens and narrows your arteries and can eventually lead to a heart attack. So, the real troublemaker isn't cholesterol itself, but these specific, small, dense LDL particles. And here is the problem with the standard test. It bundles the harmless beach balls and the dangerous marbles all together into one single number. It doesn't tell you which kind you have more of. You could have a relatively high LDL number that is made up almost entirely of the harmless, fluffy kind. On the other hand, someone could have a good LDL number, but if it's mostly made up of the small, dense kind, they could be at a much higher risk. This is why so many people feel confused. They follow a low-fat diet, take their medication, see their total LDL number go down, but the underlying risk might not have changed as much as they think. Why? because statin medications are very effective at reducing the number of the large, fluffy LDL particles, but they often have less of an effect on the small, dense, dangerous ones. Some studies have even shown that even when patients get their total LDL number very low with medication, if they still have a high number of those small, dense particles, their risk for heart disease remains significant. At Senior Forward Health, our goal is to bring you this kind of clarity, so you can feel confident in your health choices. If this is already making sense to you, I invite you to subscribe and join our community, where we believe in empowering you with the knowledge to live a stronger, healthier life. The key takeaway here is that focusing only on the total LDL number is like trying to understand a whole story by only reading one page. We're missing the most important characters. The real villain is that small, dense LDL, which is most often created when our bodies have trouble processing processed foods, especially refined carbohydrates and sugars. So now the big question is, how can you know how many of these dangerous marbles you have? Do you need a special, expensive test? Well, here is the wonderful news. There is a simple, powerful clue hiding in your standard blood test results that can tell you almost everything you need to know about your real risk. It's a number that is often mentioned but rarely explained. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly what that number is and how you can use it, along with another key number, to see the true picture of your heart's health. In the first part, we discovered that the total bad LDL cholesterol number doesn't tell the whole story. We learned that the real culprits are the small, dense LDL particles, the tiny marbles that can work their way into our artery walls and cause dangerous plaque buildup. I promise to show you a simple way to get a good idea of how many of these troublemakers you have, using the standard blood test you already have. That powerful clue is your triglyceride number. Now, triglycerides are not a type of cholesterol. They are a type of fat that circulates in your blood. But here is the secret connection. You can think of high triglycerides as being the factory that produces the dangerous small LDL particles. When your body has high levels of triglycerides, it is a sign that the internal environment is just right for creating more and more of those dense, harmful marbles. So, a high triglyceride number is one of the strongest warning signs that you may have a problem, even if your total LDL cholesterol looks perfectly fine. But this is only half of the clue. To get the full picture, we need to bring in the hero of our story, the HDL cholesterol. As you'll recall, HDL is known as the good cholesterol, and for a very good reason. Think of your HDL particles as the dedicated cleanup crew for your bloodstream. Their job is to travel around, gather up excess cholesterol, including the dangerous kind that's trying to burrow into your artery walls, and carry it back to the liver to be safely removed from your body. A higher HDL number means you have a large, efficient cleanup crew working hard to keep your arteries clear and healthy. A low HDL number means your cleanup crew is small and overworked and can't keep up with the mess. So now we have the two key pieces of the puzzle, the triglycerides, which tell us how busy the factory for bad particles is, and the HDL, which tells us how effective our cleanup crew is. The real magic happens when you look at these two numbers together. By comparing them, you can get the most accurate snapshot of your true heart disease risk available on a standard lipid panel. You can do this simple calculation yourself, right now, with your own lab report. All you need to do is find your triglyceride number and divide it by your HDL number. This is called your triglyceride-to-HDL ratio, and many forward-thinking doctors now believe this is one of the most important markers for heart health. What does this ratio tell you? It reveals the balance of power inside your body. A ratio of 2 or less is considered ideal. This means you have a great balance. Your factory for bad particles isn't overactive, and your cleanup crew is strong and in control. A ratio between 2 and 4 is a sign that you should be paying attention. There might be some imbalance that needs addressing. A ratio of 4 or higher is a significant red flag. It strongly suggests that you have a large number of those dangerous, small, dense LDL particles, and that your body is in a state of what's called insulin resistance, which is the root cause of many metabolic problems. Let's take a moment to understand that term, insulin resistance. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It happens when your body struggles to handle the sugars and refined carbohydrates in your diet. When we eat things like white bread, pastries, sugary drinks, and processed snacks, our body can become overwhelmed. To cope, it starts converting those excess sugars into fat, and that fat is stored and transported as triglycerides. So, a high triglyceride number is often a direct result of a diet that is too high in processed carbs and sugar. At the same time, this type of diet also tends to lower our good HDL, the cleanup crew. It's a double whammy for our heart health. This is why a person can have a normal LDL number but a high triglyceride-to-HDL ratio, and still be at very high risk for a heart attack. They have a busy factory pumping out dangerous particles and a tiny cleanup crew that can't keep up. This is the hidden risk that focusing only on total LDL cholesterol completely misses. This knowledge puts the power right back in your hands. You are no longer just a passive recipient of a single bad number. You can now look at your own results, do a simple division, and understand the deeper story. You can see the balance between the forces that can cause harm and the forces that protect you. This is the kind of understanding that leads to true, lasting health. And perhaps the best news of all is that while you may have little control over the genetic factors that influence your cholesterol, you have tremendous power over your triglyceride and HDL levels. These numbers are incredibly responsive to changes in your lifestyle. They are not a life sentence. They are a progress report that you can change. Now that you know how to identify your real risk, the most important question remains: what are the most effective steps you can take to fix the balance? How can you shut down the factory and strengthen your cleanup crew? It's simpler than you might think, and it doesn't always involve another prescription. In our final part, we will walk through the gentle, powerful, and proven habits you can start today to lower your triglycerides, raise your good HDL, and build a truly resilient and healthy heart for all the years to come. In our journey together so far, we've uncovered a powerful truth. Your total cholesterol number is not the whole story. We've all learned that the real key to understanding your heart health lies in the balance between your triglycerides, the factory for bad particles, and your HDL, your hard-working cleanup crew. You now know how to calculate your triglyceride to HDL ratio, giving you a clear window into your true risk. And now, we arrive at the most hopeful and empowering part of our conversation. Knowing your numbers is one thing, but knowing you have the power to change them is everything. The wonderful news is that your triglyceride and HDL levels are incredibly responsive to your daily habits. This isn't about drastic measures or restrictive diets. It's about making gentle, consistent choices that nurture your body and protect your heart. Let's walk through these simple steps together. The first and most powerful area we can focus on is the food on our plate. To lower those triglycerides and raise your good HDL, the single most effective thing you can do is be mindful of sugars and refined carbohydrates. I'm talking about the fast carbs like white bread, white rice, pastries, sugary cereals, and sweetened drinks. When you eat these foods, your body breaks them down into sugar very quickly. Any sugar that your body doesn't need for immediate energy gets converted and stored as triglycerides. By simply reducing these foods, you are effectively slowing down that factory for bad particles. Instead, let's focus on what we can add to our plates. Welcome more fiber-rich foods like colorful vegetables, beans, lentils, and whole grains like oats and quinoa. Fiber helps to slow down the absorption of sugar, preventing those sharp spikes that lead to triglyceride production. Next, embrace healthy fats. This might sound counterintuitive, But eating the right kinds of fat is one of the best ways to improve your ratio. The superstars here are omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, as well as in walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds. Omega-3 South are powerful anti-inflammatories. They help to calm the irritation in your arteries and have been proven to lower triglycerides while also helping to build a better, more efficient HDL cleanup crew. Even simple things, like using extra virgin olive oil for your salad dressings, can make a wonderful difference. A quick note on cooking oils. For high heat cooking, consider a stable oil like avocado oil. Save that delicate, wonderful olive oil for lower heat applications or for drizzling on food after it's cooked. Our second step is to move our bodies with joy. You don't need to run a marathon or spend hours in a gym to see profound benefits. The goal is simply to get your blood moving and help your body become more sensitive to insulin again. A brisk 30-minute walk each day is one of the most powerful medicines on earth. Other wonderful activities include swimming or water aerobics, which are gentle on the joints, riding a bicycle, or even just putting on your favorite music and dancing in the living room. When you move your body consistently, you are telling it to use sugar for energy instead of storing it as fat. Find an activity that makes you feel good, and it will become a cherished part of your day, not a chore. Our third step is to consider some extra support. For some people, even with diet and exercise, their numbers might need an extra nudge. This is where a high-quality fish oil supplement, which is rich in omega-3 South, can be very helpful. It's one of the most well-researched supplements for lowering triglycerides. Of course, it is absolutely essential to speak with your doctor before starting any new supplement to make sure it's the right choice for you and won't interfere with any medications you're retaking. So let's bring it all together. The story of your heart health is far richer and more nuanced than a single LDL number. The real story is about balance, the balance revealed by your triglyceride-to-HDL ratio. And the beautiful truth is that this balance is largely in your hands. By choosing whole, fiber-rich foods and healthy fats over processed carbs and sugar, by moving your body in ways that feel good, and by working with your doctor, you can actively lower your triglycerides, raise your protective HDL, and build a foundation of deep, lasting heart health. You now possess the knowledge to look at your own health with new eyes. You are empowered to have a more informed conversation with your doctor and to make daily choices that truly nourish and protect you. If this guide has been helpful to you, please consider sharing it with a sister, a friend, or any woman in your life you care about. Spreading this knowledge is an act of love. Thank you for taking this time for yourself and for joining us today at Senior Forward Health. Continue to move forward with strength, confidence, and joy.